Welcome back to the series where I turn pride flags into Pokemon teams. For this video, I am using the asexual flag. Okay, personally speaking, I'm actually like super ace. In fact, I'm so asexual that if I was a trainer in Pokemon, I would probably be an ace trainer. That joke was good and you know it. Today, I will be using a full team of Pokemon with the colors of the asexual flag. Special thank you to Lord Darner for suggesting this team idea. If you have a pride flag you would like to see turned into a Pokemon team, please comment one down below and I will use them. And if you like this kind of content, feel free to subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Now, the asexual flag was one of the most easy pride flags I've ever had to do. In fact, there's a lot of Pokemon that do match this flag that I didn't even include on this team, like Galarian Articuno or Ghastly. Now, my pick for one of the better Pokemon to represent the asexual flag is Gothitelle. This Pokemon has a lot of black and white, and it has purplish skin tones as well, which make it a very good fit. Its face also perfectly represents an ace person that is around someone that likes to make horny jokes. The next pick I have is Hisuian Goodra, which is interesting because I just used normal Goodra for the genderqueer flag. So here I am using Hisuian Goodra, which has all of the grayish and purplish shades that you would see on the asexual flag as well. Not every Pokemon on this team does have the specific dark purple shade that you would see on the asexual flag. Basically, if a Pokemon has purplish accents, but is majority black, gray, or white, or is the opposite, where it's predominantly purple, but has black, white, or gray accents, definitely qualified for the type of team. For example, Revavroom is a car, which means it cannot participate in sexual relationships. But Revavroom has that purplish, poisonish engine to it, as well as being predominantly silvery gray with white and black on it. So I thought it was a really good fit for this asexual team. Grumpig was another Pokemon that I ended up choosing for this team. Grumpig also has that only purple, black, white color scheme it has going on for it as well. Now, probably the most fitting Pokemon for this asexual flag team is Spectrier. Spectrier is just a really sick looking ghost horse, but it's also part of the no eggs discovered egg group. So it is the only Pokemon on this team that cannot breed. And that is perfectly ace-coded. My original plan for the asexual flag team was to include only Pokemon in that egg group where they cannot breed with any other Pokemon, but I couldn't make a full team of 6 with the limited amount of Pokemon we had. All I could think of was Spectrier, Mewtwo, and Galarian Articuno, but after that, I started thinking about Pokemon like Kyurem Black, Shiny, which definitely felt more like a stretch. So I ended up just choosing Pokemon that matched the asexual flag in general. But don't think I didn't think about Pokemon that couldn't breed for this type of video. Now, the last Pokemon that I chose for this team is Shiny Hisuian Zoroark. In my Pride Flag team series, I actually had this for the gray asexual flag, and that identity is still under the asexual umbrella. So I did end up choosing it for this general asexual flag team as well. So that's the team of Pokemon that I am going to be using for this asexual flag team. Let me know what you think, and without further ado, let's get right into the battles. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, lovely people. Today I am using an asexual flag team. I'm really excited about this flag considering that I'm very much ace myself. So I have 2 interesting battles to showcase in this video, and I hope you enjoyed them. Also, it is like disgustingly hot out right now, and my throat is just a little bit sore. So if that comes into play at any point in the narration, I apologize for that. But anyway, I'm going to lead off with my Spectrier. Now, I'm going to get off a Burn versus this Glimmora, and this is actually not really a sweeping Spectrier. I'm running a more bulky, specially defensive Spectrier. Now, this Pokemon was one of the best Pokemons on my team, even despite the fact that I made it more bulky. Like 1 Hex is just going to be enough to take out the Glimmora. Jeez, this Pokemon does like a lot of damage, and I'm going to get a special attack boost because of my Grimnay ability. So I have leftovers on this as the item. This set is running Will-O-Wisp, Hex, Draining Kiss, and Pain Split. I saw that this Pokemon got access to Pain Split for recovery, which is basically the only reason why I ran like a more bulky Spectrier. So Azumarill comes in. I thought, okay, this is perfectly fine. I'm going to get off a Will-O-Wisp Burn. Thankfully, I don't miss. So even if they go for the Belly Drum, they are still going to be burnt, which is going to neuter their capabilities to sweep, but they get a defense drop with the liquidation, and it does a lot of damage even though it's burned. This Pokemon with huge power is crazy. Although Spectrier definitely doesn't have good defense either. So I'm gonna get hit with some poison damage from the Glimmora's Mortal Spin, and I thought, well, I should be able to do a lot of damage with this Hex. In fact, I probably should be able to take it out. So Aqua Jet does not take me out. I'm going to go for the Hex, but Azumarill actually tanks that very well. So it's looking like it's going to be like an Assault Vest Azumarill, judging on the damage that it did to me. So they're going to obviously go for the Aqua Jet the next turn as I take some more poison damage. I didn't really feel the need to like want to swap out either, so I'm just going to get taken out there by the Aqua Jet, which is fine. I have a bunch of Pokemon that could handle this Azumarill anyway, and it didn't set up belly drums or anything either. So bringing in my Hisuian Goodra, this is a fully physical attacking Hisuian Goodra with the Shuka Berry to help with my ground weakness, and I'm gonna take out the Azumarill at the Heavy Slam. Now, speaking of ground weakness, in comes Haxorus. So I imagine that this Pokemon wants to go for the Earthquake, which they do, and with the Shuka Berry, it's going to half the damage on that. Still does so much damage, but I am able to tank that, and I do have Ice Spinner on the set as well. This has a Heavy Slam, Knockoff, Ice Spinner, and Stomping Tantrum. If you're wondering why I have Stomping Tantrum instead of Earthquake, I honestly cannot tell you why. So I'm going to bring in my Rev Room. I have an Air Balloon, so I'm going to be able to switch into the Earthquake, assuming that the Haxorus is going to go for that. So they're going to end up swapping out. So at this point, I thought maybe it's like Choice Banded or like Choice Scarf or something, but they're going to bring in the Goldigo. Now, this is an interesting Rev Room. They also have an Air Balloon. We're both celebrating our birthdays at the moment, and I take this opportunity to set up a Shift Gear. Now, this has Iron Head and High Horsepower. Very standard for a Rev Room. I wanted to run a Shift Gear set, but it gets access to the move Lick. Have no idea. First of all, why does this Pokemon have a tongue? What is it made of? Secondly, I had to run Terra Ghost Lick. So I'm going to go for that Terra Ghost Lick on the Goldigo. I thought this should be able to take it out easily, but it takes that. It takes it so well. I was like, geez, if it was a sweeping Goldigo, it had a good chance of taking it out, but wow, it took that Lick like a champ. And they're going to go for the Shadow Ball, which is really bad because I Terrasolized into a Ghost type. I just couldn't resist going for the Terra Ghost Lick against this Goldigo. Like, I had to take the opportunity. So just gonna go for the High Horsepower. On the off chance that they brung in their Arcanine and like intimidated me, I just wanted to go for the High Horsepower. But their Haxorus is gonna come in, and they are gonna Revenge KO me with their first impression. I kind of thought that they would, but since Stealth Rocks were up, I couldn't swap out, otherwise I would just get fainted. And I thought this is gonna be an opportunity for me to get a KO on them. So I'm gonna bring in my Grumpig. This Grumpig is actually not a Grumpig. It's my Hisuian Zoroark. So Espeon comes in. Espeon's probably thinking, oh, this is such a nice night. I hope I don't get hit by a Shadow Ball. And it takes a Shadow Ball to the face, and that takes it out. So my Hisuian Zoroark is interesting because Grumpig also gets access to Shadow Ball. So it doesn't necessarily reveal that I'm Zoroark. So Arcanine comes in. I have to swap out because, well, two things. One, obviously Arcanine is probably going to swallow Shadow Ball, assuming it's like more bulky, but if they're Terra Normal with extreme speed, they are going to be completely immune to that, and they do end up Terrasolizing into the normal type. So I figured that this is like the curse, maybe White Herb extreme speed Arcanine with like Flare Blitz, and they do set up the curse as I swap into my Hisuian Goodra, which I was honestly just kind of sacrificing at this point because Hisuian Goodra is pretty slow. It's interesting, this Arcanine ends up outspeeding me even after -1 speed, so it probably has some speed investment, even though it has Curse. So, this turn I thought, okay, well that's fine. I have my Gothitelle, I should be able to tank a Terra Normal E-Speed. I went for the Focus Blast, and it missed. Really unfortunate. I actually have this really interesting blunder policy Gothitelle with like Nasty Plot and Hypnosis. So the idea is to like miss a Hypnosis or like Focus Blast, and I could get a speed boost with my blunder policy, but I just get absolutely torched by that Flare Blitz. Holy smokes. Now, this wasn't really an ideal position, but I thought if this Pokemon weakens itself with the recoil, and if I chip it with my Grumpig, then I should be able to Revenge KO this with my Hisuian Zoroark. This Grumpig, by the way, I would actually describe it as a detriment to this team. Oh my goodness, this Grumpig was bad. I'll explain the set in a little bit, but the Arcanine is taking a lot of recoil. Grumpig gets one shot, but now I'm going to bring in my Hisuian Zoroark, which is always really interesting to bring without the illusion ability. And I'm going to go for the Terra Blast. That's going to be enough to take out the Arcanine. And the last Pokemon is the Haxorus. Now, I knew that the Haxorus, I knew I could take a first impression from the Haxorus with Mold Breaker, so I thought I'm just gonna go for another Terra Blast. They don't actually go for first impression, so I'm gonna take out the Haxorus with the Terra Blast, and that's the end of that first game. Really interesting battle. Definitely that Arcanine was very, very scary, but I thought it was a still very good game. And if you enjoyed this video, please, please, please consider hitting the like button. I would really, really, really appreciate it because I love doing these Pride Flag teams. Now, this game was also very, very close. So, the Kilowattrel is going to go for the Volt Switch turn 1, does a lot of damage to my lead Grumpig. This is a weakness policy physical Grumpig. It is so bad. So as I go for the Trailblaze just to increase my speed, I really didn't have a lot that wanted to lead into Kilowattrel, so I'm just going to get off my Thunder Punch chip versus the Metagross. And yeah, well, I'll say this Grumpig did better than it did in the last battle. This time it got 2 hits in instead of 1. Amazing. So, bringing in my Spectrier here, I threatened the Metagross with a Shadow Ball or any kind of Ghost move easily. So, they're going to bring in the Politoed. They're obviously working with a Rain team. And I thought, well, okay, I just went for the Will-O-Wisp. This might alert them that I'm going to be running a Hex on my Spectrier as well. And they're also going to be aware that I am running Will-O-Wisp as well versus the Metagross. So, getting the burn on the Politoed isn't bad either because I could hit it with a very strong Hex, but the Kilowattrel comes in. So I thought, okay, well, this is going to take some considerable chip damage from the Hex. Does well over half. Even like, I have very minimal special attack investment on this thing. This has like max special defense, and like I split the EV training in half from between like HP and special attack. So the Kilowattrel is going to go for the Volt Switch again. I am able to tank it because I'm very specially defensive. And as the Kingdra swaps in, I just went for the Hex to do some solid damage to it. Now, I had my Hisuian Goodra, which I knew could tank like a special move from this Kingdra, but this Kingdra actually ends up being physical with Wave Crash, which does so much damage. I'm assuming that this is like choice banded after that damage. Holy jeez. So, they're going to bring in the Toxicroak here, and they're going to be the Air Balloon as well. So I thought, okay, well, that's fine. I just went for the knockoff. I honestly expected them to go for another Wave Crash and just take me out, although they did take a lot of recoil damage as well. So I broke this Toxicroak's Air Balloon. They actually go for the Gunk Shot, which is a fair play considering I have 2 Ghost types that can easily swap into a fighting move. So as I go for the Stomping Tantrum, I actually just barely get close to taking out the Toxicroak. Again, I don't know why I didn't have Earthquake. I think I honestly just kind of forgot that this Goodra had a Earthquake to begin with. So I'm gonna be annoying and swap in my my Spectrier on the Drain Punch because they probably didn't. I honestly was sacrificing my Hisuian Goodra at that point, so I thought, okay, I could switch into a Drain Punch, and I assumed that this Toxicroak is also going to be running Sucker Punch as well, so I just went for the Will-O-Wisp this turn, anticipating that they would go for the Sucker Punch. So this Toxicroak is probably very annoyed at my shenanigans right now, but like I said, I was intent on sacrificing my Hisuian Goodra earlier because I'm on like less than half HP, and it doesn't really like match up very well into like the rest of their team, except for like Kilowattrel, but I had Pokemon to handle the Kilowattrel, so I'm going to go for a Hex this turn. They don't go for Sucker Punch to chip me, which is great because I'm going to be able to take out the Toxicroak, and as I get a special attack boost, I'm going to get even more leftovers recovery on top of that. So I thought here, well, there's currently no Rain active on the field right now, so they're probably going to set up their Rain with their Politoed, and that's going to be able to set up the Rain, although I do threaten this with a double base power Hex. So they are going to swap out their Politoed into the Galarian Weezing, which I assume was most definitely like a sacrifice into my team, which is definitely fair considering I have a Gothitelle that threatens this. I have this, look at that damage on this, holy smokes. I have this Spectrier that threatens it, my Hisuian Zoroark threatens it, and even though this Pokemon is very physically defensive, I can still hit it with a super effective Iron Head on my Revavroom. So I'm going to go for another Hex that's going to be able to 2-hit KO the Galarian Weezing, although I was sure that they were going to just bring in the Kingdra afterward to just revenge KO me because they're in the Rain, and a choice-banded Wave Crash is going to be easily enough to threaten to just absolutely wash me away. So the Quickster is going to come back in. It's gonna see if it could go to that mountain and back. Well, that was a very scuffed reference, but anyway, I'm gonna bring in my Hisuian Goodra. Like I said, I kind of was hoping that they go for the Wave Crash so that they could take some more recoil damage, and they do end up terrestrializing into Terra Water, so a Wave Crash is easily gonna be enough to take out my Spectrier or my Hisuian Goodra or basically anything on my team. But they end up going for the Flip Turn, which is It's a little unfortunate because they're not going to take any recoil damage. I almost said recoil. My mind is on SpongeBob right now. And they're going to bring back in their Metagross. Now, unfortunately, I don't outspeed this, so they're just going to knock off my Shuka Berry, and that's going to take out my Hisui Gudra. This battle was getting to the point where they were having to sacrifice versus me, and I had to sacrifice versus them, because basically our big threats are like the Spectrier and the Kingdra. It was like a battle between them. So as I bring in my Spectrier, this is actually my Hisuian Zoroark. So they bring in the Zapdos Light. Everybody always nicknamed their Pokemon like Zapdos related nicknames with Kilowatt. It was pretty funny. But they're just gonna bring back in their Kingdra. So I was like, well, shoot, I have to swap out and sacrifice my Gothitelle here because I had to pick a sack versus this Pokemon. And, like, no matter what, Flip Turn or Wave Crash was KOing, like, everything on my team. So my Gothitelle is going to get one-shot by that Flip Turn. They're going to bring back in the Metagross. Now, I thought, okay, well, I could just bring back in my Hisuian Zoroark. This is a Choice Scarf Hisuian Zoroark, by the way. This is a Shadow Ball, Terra Blast, Flamethrower, and Trick. The Shadow Ball is not going to be enough to take out the Metagross, unfortunately, and they knock off and just one-shot me. But I did get some considerable chip damage, and I thought, okay, I should be in a prime position to set up with my Revavroom. It just depends on the circumstances of everything, and I'll get into that later. So, setting up the Shift Gear, I thought I should be able to tank. I'm Air Balloons, so they can't go for Earthquake, and I should be able to tank like a Zen Headbutt or a Psychic Fangs from this Metagross. And as I Psychic Fangs me, I am able to take that, and if they go for the Bullet Punch, I should be able to tank that as well. Now, in hindsight, I should have maybe went for another Shift Gear this turn, but if they didn't go for another Bullet Punch, like if they didn't have Bullet Punch, and I went for the Shift Gear and they just took me out to Psychic Fangs, I would just like lose from that position. So they're going to bring in their Politoed. I don't one-shot this with anything, so I thought, I'm just going to go for the Iron Head flinch, try to see if I can take out this Politoed. I get the flinch, which is amazing because I'm going to be able to take out this Politoed the next turn with the high horsepower, and that's the end of Politoed. So I was like, okay, this is a very interesting scenario because if their Kingdra is running Adamant, even after the Shift Gear, I should be able to outspeed them because Revavroom is faster than Kingdra. I am Adamant Nature myself, but if they're Adamant Nature, then I outspeed them. If they're Jolly Nature, though, they outspeed me. So it depends on what the nature this Kingdra was running, and unfortunately, it ends up being Jolly Nature because, like I said, after the Shift Gear, we're both basically at +2 speed because of Kingdra's Swift Swim and the Shift Gear that I got from my +2 speed, but if they were Adamant, I would have been able to outspeed them and go for the Terra Ghost Lick KO, which would have been insane. But as I bring in my Spectrier, they locked themselves into Wave Crash. I knew that there was absolutely no chance that my Spectrier was going to tank that whatsoever. If only I outsped them. If only they were Adamant. But they are going to take themselves out with the recoil damage, which is going to end this game in a draw. Although I did lose because my Pokemon got fainted first, but that was an insane, great game. Thank you all so much for watching this Asexual team. My name is SkyLaaa. Don't forget to smile, and I will see you all next time.